Hello everyone. So today with this video we're gonna see how to create a diagram starting from a SketchUp model and then how to import it into Illustrator and then create a diagram using Illustrator. So first of all we should go into SketchUp, the SketchUp for web version, and find your best view. So in my case I just want a diagram of those two buildings. So what we have to do is to export or download, download. So download as a PNG. So once you are happy with your perspective, you can file, download PNG. And I would suggest to remove the background, so putting a transparent background like this one. And then you can export as a PNG. Okay, just save it and whatever. Now we have our file exported. We can go into Illustrator, just drag it into Illustrator and open it as a file. As you can see, everything is together because this is a PNG. So I would suggest to put it in this way. So have it in a way that the SketchUp text is outside of your artboard and is not disturbing us. So now what we want to do is, first of all, to organize layers. So if you open the layer list, you will see we have this one, which is called layer 1, which we can call actually SketchUp model. So perfect. And then I will create another one, at this point, another layer. So from here, create a new layer. We can call it buildings, for example. Okay. And then another one again, which is called perimeter. Why? Because now we want to trace over to those buildings. So just to be clear, the SketchUp model in this case, because we can only export as a PNG with the free version of SketchUp, so what we are exporting is a PNG, and with the PNG, the only things that we can do is to trace over, because we cannot basically take lines from here. Of course, if you have very big drawings, you can also try to trace image. But in this case, we want to be more precise, so we want to trace over the buildings. So first things to do is to lock the image you have, which is called SketchUp model. So we just want to lock this. So lock from here. And then I go into building and we can start to trace over the buildings. So how to do this? First of all, put click on this small icon in order to have the black stroke. And then if you click on the fill color, we can just put none. So we are in this situation where we have none for fill and black for stroke. Then we can take the pen tool, this one, and we can basically go closer and start tracing over around the boundary. If you want to go straight, just press Shift in this way. In my case now, I don't want this. I will show you later how to do two diagrams, once for the before and once for the after situation. In this case, we want to do the before situation, so maybe we don't want this entries. So we can just go straight here. Just go very close and try to be, as much as close to the real shape of the building. As you can see here, a PNG is a raster file. Is the reason why we cannot take line. And you can check the things that this is raster, because if you go if you zoom in very close, this is made by pixel. This is the reason why in SketchUp we cannot isolate surfaces and lines, because this is a raster and is not vector. So now we have this facade closed. So we start from another point to draw the rooftop. As you can see here, they will merge at some point, but it's fine. So, we are trying to exactly keep going like this. and we close the rooftop. So now we have one closed boundary, which is the rooftop, and one closed boundary which is this surface. Now we want to draw those tiny lines. In this case, I think because are just lines, that is maybe easier if we take the line tool, the line segment tool, which is this one, in order to just point there and go straight down, in order to create some lines which are not closed shaped but are just segments. Okay, let's do the same for the other building. So for the other one as well, let's go to take the pen tool, and let's start from the roof this time, but it's exactly the same. So start tracing the roof like this. You know, you can also like start tracing the elevators, for example, in this way. I would always suggest to have the facade and then the roof as another closed shape, and keep going doing this kind of things. Okay. Okay, and now we need this roof. Yeah, the idea is that you create every time a sort of closed perimeter, which would be very helpful then if you want to basically add color only to one facade or to another one. Okay, more or less is like this. Now, you can check that you drawn right, because if you go in the layer list now, you can switch off the SketchUp model and you will have only your buildings, only the tracing of your buildings. As you can see here, you can see that a couple of lines are missing, so we can draw those lines. So switch on again, stay on building, and taking the line tool, again, like create some lines, something like this. You can do the same for the stories as well, so you can start tracing also the stories. So this is a quite nice. We still have one missing here, as you can see. Perfect. Perfect, so we have our building. So something very effective when you're drawing diagrams in Illustrator is to draw the perimeter of your buildings, which make them stronger. So here again, you can lock the building, okay, but without switching off. So just the building are locked. And go into perimeter, and taking the pen tool, we start tracing the perimeter. Here, I would suggest to go always into, for example, around 2 points, something like this. So start tracing the external perimeter. Maybe we need a little bit more of, okay, something like this. We will see later how to basically change the thickness once you have all your building done. Nope. So here I just want the give a little bit more thickness to the perimeter. It makes your drawing be more three-dimensional, so it will be more effective. Okay, something like this. So now we have this one. So maybe like unlock the buildings and select all the lines inside the buildings by clicking this rounded things, and we can change from here the thickness of all the lines into buildings. So I would suggest to put, for example, 0.5 and just press enter, and you will see that the lines will be thinner. You know, we can do the same with perimeter. If you click on this button here, you can change all the lines into perimeter. We can put, I don't know, 2.5 and just enter. As you can see here, you already have something quite interesting here, you know. So what we want to do now is to add elements. So we want to create a before and after situation, right? So in order to create a before and after situation, what we can do is to exactly create another, let's say, drawing, which is exactly the same, because maybe this is the before situation and then we have the after situation. So in order to do this, we should create exactly the same drawings, but in another artboard. So we can click into artboard, press just plus here. Okay, remember that every time the artboard is touching something, so for example, this one, if you move the artboard, you are moving the drawing. So leave there the artboard, so it means that it's closed, but like you're not moving anything. And what you can do is to, first of all, to select everything. Okay, once you have selected everything, you go into edit, and then, sorry, probably you're outside of my boundary, but copy, and then we click into edit and paste. Now we try to align a little bit. Okay. Here again, we want to lock the SketchUp model, but of course, because we just copied this, everything on here, as you can see, is blue because everything is on the SketchUp model. So what we want to do is to separate layers here. So we go here and we click here. You remember the first function we saw about Illustrator was about select similar objects. So every time you select an object, for example, in this case, the perimeter, which is 2.5, you are selecting similar objects. Your SketchUp is selecting all the objects with the same thickness, which is very good in our case. So here, once we have selected, like, we just click on the perimeter, we do select similar objects from here, and we are selecting all the perimeter. So we can go into edit, cut in this case, and then we go into perimeter, and we do edit, paste in place. So now we separate it. So we put the perimeter into the perimeter layer. We do the same for the other lines which are building. So click on this one, select similar objects, and then edit, cut, and then we say into building, and then I edit, paste in place. Okay, so now if we switch off SketchUp, we should be exactly like the SketchUp model, the layer at the bottom, we should be exactly in the same situation, okay? So we have two identical drawings in two different artboards, which is very good. Because in this case, what we can do, especially here in this one, then like let's say the after version, we can switch off the SketchUp model layer and go very close and modify this part. You remember that before what we did was to basically do something straight here, but maybe in the after situation we can modify this because we want an entrance here, okay? So here what we can do is again to basically cut. So if you take the scissors, which are here, so scissor tools, we can basically cut here and cut here, okay? And then you take again the selection tool and you remove, just erase this line, okay? We should do the same for the building, so the building layer and the perimeter layer. We just did it for the perimeter layer. So let's do also for the building. So again, scissors, cut and cut. You can also be not super precise because then we are gonna go inside. So if we stay into the building, we can for the moment just lock the perimeter so we are not getting confused. Just stay on the building with the pen tool, take the first point and start drawing this opening. If we are not super precise here, what we can do, as you can see here, we can take the white direct selection tool and we can double click and just move a little bit, okay? And again, continue with these things. Once we have all our lines, what we can do, look, we are in this situation. So we can switch off the SketchUp model so we can see better. And now we lock the building and we unlock the perimeter and we go into the perimeter and we do exactly the same thing. So take the first line of the perimeter and just keep going with the perimeter. Okay, so now we have two drawings which are very similar, but you know, you have two different, for example, openings. So we are changing this opening here. Something else that you can do if you want to play a little bit with the color is to basically go into building here. And I would always suggest to lock the other layers that you're not using. So into buildings, you can give a little bit of colors, like to the roof, for example, in order to give them a little bit of, you know, shadows. So if you click here on the perimeter, if you remember, we were creating perimeters for each facade. So for this facade, for example, which is the roof, you can go into the fill color here and pick a light version, like, you know, a very light gray. Okay, something like this. It could be nice. Even lighter, I guess. I think it would be nice even lighter. So something very light like this. Okay, sorry, I didn't select it. So something very light like this. You know, and then you can do exactly the same for all the roof. In this case, it's this one. You can also, if you press Shift, you can select multiple objects at the same time. And then we can use the eyedropper tool and pick this one. Perfect. So now we have a little bit of, you know, roofs with a little bit of opacity, and we are in this situation where we have two drawings, more or less the same drawings, but we have an opening here because maybe we want a more like permeability on this facade and so on. So what we can do now is to create, is to highlight, not create, the entrances. So we can first of all create a new layer that should be on top of building but below perimeter, and we call it sorry, we can move it also below the building. So we can call it entrances. Okay, so now we have entrances. We lock all the other layers, so we only have entrances. And what we can do on this layer, we can start coloring with the red color. So just double click on the colors here, pick a red, okay, and then on the stroke we want to put none. So red fill, none stroke, we call it. And then again we take the pen tool. So if you move your layer entrances below buildings, you will see also, like, you will see the lines of the buildings. If you start with the pen tool tracing, yeah, as you can see here, yeah, as you can see here, you will see the lines of the buildings on top. So I want to highlight the entrances. So in my case, I want to highlight, in this situation, we only have one entrance, but in the new situation, let's say, let's do some hypothesis. We are like designing a new facade for these entrances. So we want to show that here we still have one entrance. And then we can also like highlight the entrance on this side of the other building. Okay, so we are here. Of course, this red is very, very visible. So it's too, like, we need a little bit of, like, this color should be a little bit pale, I think. So what we can do is to open the layer menu, select all the entrances, all the layers, or sorry, all the objects on this layer entrances by clicking on this bottom here, as we already know. And then we can change all the opacity of all the elements from here. So opacity, and we play a little bit, you know, you can put something like this. Maybe even less. Something like this is nice. Perfect. So now we have those two, like, basically it's not that difficult, but if you are thinking about this, you're developing two different diagrams at the same time, which is very useful later on because you will have two diagrams instead of one. And you can also compare the two situations of the two, let's say, like before and after situation that you want to create. So now what we can do is to create a street, because maybe in the existing situation we have a street. So we create a new layer, we lock entrances. So as I suggest, I always prefer to work with, when I'm working with one layer, I always try to lock the other layers so nothing will be messed up. So in this layer, we call it road. How we can create the road? Let's take the pen tool and let's take the color like a dark gray. Here, in order to keep the same direction, the same inclination, I would suggest to go close here, you know, and to create the same kind of, you can use the building lines in order to go straight to keep the same direction, you know, something like this. And then you do something more or less similar. So of course also here you should try to be as straight, like not as straight as possible, but as in perspective as possible. But this could be a good perspective. Once you have your street, of course you want maybe your street to be a little bit far from the building. So with the selection tool, you just take the street and drag the street maybe here. Of course, also in this case, you can go outside of your drawing. It's your choice. Your street could be like something like this, like in the middle like this, or it could be something that goes outside. So if you want to stretch this a little bit, you can take the direct selection tool, double click on this length, and just drag down something like this. Remember to don't go like on the other artboard, because otherwise it will be visible. So something like this I think is nice. So now we want to create, still in this layer, a line that is the middle point of the road. So taking the line segment, remember to change the color. So the fill color should be none. The line color should be white. Okay, and now we are in this situation. So from the middle point to the middle point, more or less, let's have this line. Now it's probably super thin, as you can see here. So we can select it, open the stroke windows, and just put a lot of weight. But I also suggest to have a little bit of dash line. In this case, I don't like this dash, let's say, way of lines. So we can, I don't know, putting like 6, maybe it's too less. So we can put 30, and maybe again, even more. So we can put 60, and I don't know, 40, something like this. Maybe this is too, okay, something like this. So play a little bit, and then in order at the end to have something like this. Remember, when you will export your drawing, you will export only the artboard. So everything that is outside the artboard will not be exported, which is fine for us. Then something else that we can create are some, let's say, some parking plots. So also here, we can go again, we lock road, we create a new layer, we call it parkings, and stay on to parkings. We can, using the rectangle tool, we should have none for the perimeter, for the stroke, sorry, and we take a light gray for the fill. So we are in this situation. So here, what we can do is to create some parking plots. So first of all, I would always suggest to create like some squares or something like this, more or less in proportion. Okay. And then let's say edit, copy, edit, paste in place, and then you move. So you create those kind of those kind of like line of parking, something like this is nice. Why we want to do this? Because then we should like select all of them, move them here, for example. And in my case, we want to basically like rotate all together. So what we can do is to take the free transformation tool here and move your, like, try to adjust with the inclination accordingly to the streets. So how you can do this? When you have this kind of symbols, okay, you can have it here or here. You move a little bit in this way, you know, and then you should also move on the other way around. So you should have something like this, and then you, of course, you can play a little bit in order to have your parkings as straight as possible. So try to match with the with the inclination of the building and of the street, so in order to have something like this. You can check this because this line of the building should be in line with the parking, for example, so, but also the line of the street. So more or less it's something like this. So now you have a line of parking that you can move, for example, here. And then maybe you can move those here, and from here you can copy and paste somewhere else here. Maybe those are too much. Okay, so now we have our parkings, we have our buildings, and what we want in this situation, so this may be the existing situation. So now basically the problem here is that we want to show maybe the pathway where the people are entering in this building. So now maybe we can give some hypotheses and create a new layer again. So lock the parking, create a new layer which we can call path, and taking the pen tool, we put none for the fill. For the stroke we put something like yellow, maybe a dark yellow, something like this, and then we trace maybe an hypothesis of where are the people passing right now. So maybe we can do an arrow like this. Of course, here is super thin, so again, select it, stroke, add a lot of weight maybe, and also put it dashed. I would suggest to don't do exactly the same dash as this one. So maybe we can put 50 and 40, and maybe, I don't know, maybe less than, so 40 and 20. And then we can also put an arrowhead at the end. So maybe this arrowhead is too big, so we want to reduce it by like pressing 50 here. Yeah, something like this could be good. Also try to always change and see which is the best way. So this might be your existing situation. So now you have, like, let's say we have a building, two buildings with an entrance with very difficult access for pedestrian people, with a street, some parkings, and so on. What we want for the new situation instead is to have a nice park in front of the buildings and give access to the pedestrian from the park. So here, layers, lock this and create a new one. Green spaces, you can call it green spaces. And from here, again, you remember what we always do. So take in this case, the curvature tool. We want none in the stroke, but we want green in the fill. Yes, exactly. So something like this. And we want to create a nice spot of green. Also here, you should always close your boundary. Once you have your boundary, maybe this green is too dark and we want to give a little bit of opacity. So if you select it, you can put a little bit of opacity. Look how better it is. And maybe what we want to do is to create the pathway through this park. So, but we already have the layer pathway. So what we can do is to go in the list lock the green space, but unlock the path. So select into the paths in order to have exactly the same characteristics and create a new pathway. So in this case, maybe we want a pathway to be a little bit curved in this way. Okay? So what is the problem right now? First of all is that we don't have the arrowhead. So let's go here. Let's open the stroke and add arrowhead here. Also in this case, we want to put 50 as a scale, something like this. What is the other problem? The other problem is that this layer is below the green. As you can see here, this is covered by the green. So we need to move in the layer list, we need to move the path on top of the green space. If it's to maybe like similar the color, you can even change. You can put a little bit opacity to the park in order to see better the line. Okay. Something else that you can do is to like rounded all these corners. So if you selected the line you just created with the selection tool, you just click on it once, and then you take the direct selection tool from here. If you take the white selection tool, you will see you have some dots here. So when you have all the dots, you can take one, just click once and drag, and you will see you are rounding the corners. Perfect. So now we have this. Okay, perfect. So what we can do now is to add some trees. So in our case, I think it's good that if we see how to create trees. So open layers, create a new layer, and we take the layer on top of everything and we call it trees. How we can create some trees? We can create some trees by taking the pen tool. Having the fill none is good, but here I want black. So black stroke inside. You can also put white inside. So black stroke like this and white fill. And you can start to draw a kind of tree. So let's do it like before outside of your drawing, and then we will move it. So you can create something like this. Of course, it's not like you should maybe try a couple of times in order to create a nice one. But something like this will be nice. And maybe you do this. And then if you take the white, the direct selection tool, you can also move a little bit the point in order to have something more, you know. Of course, this is a style, like it's not a real tree, but you can try to do those kind of, you can move a little bit the points in order for them to be something more like this. Perfect. Once we have our kind of tree, we should draw the leaves. So how to do them? So first of all, let's use the curvature tool to create some kind of clouds or bubbles. You know, something like this. Very like now as you can see, we have the white field which is covering our tree. But so we have something like this, and we can create even another one with a different shape. Once we have those two, we can give colors to them. So what we want to do is to select both of them, go here. For the stroke, we say none. We don't want the stroke. For the fill, we want maybe something green like this. So you can already have, like you can have those like this. Maybe I want something more yellowish. Or otherwise, what you can do is to also put a little bit of, you know, gradient on it. So if you click the first one, and then you open this one, which is gradient, you can play with the gradient. So what you can do is to click on this grayscale, and then you can change the color. So if you double click from like on this white point here, you can basically sorry, I don't know what's going on. You can, so let's start again. If you select it, you can double click on it. You can take or you double click on it, you take this color, like you take the picker and you select this color, for example. And then, but you want also to change the black because we don't like it. So we double click on it and we look for, you know, other kind of colors. So you can also double click on different colors. Like for example, try to use the picker, but also like once you have took the color, you can modify the color using the colors here. So you can, I don't know, doing something like this, you know, or even from here. So you can do this kind of things. And then just take the selection tool and click somewhere else. And you can do the same for this one. So, or you take the eyedropper tool and you click on this one, you will see. But you can also like give it another color, for example. So you can modify this in order for them to be different. So yeah, and then your tree is done. So let's adjust a little bit. So maybe we want this in front. So right click and arrange, bring to front. And this is a nice tree. Of course, then you can select everything, right click, group, and you have a tree. So you can take this tree here. You can also, you know, change. So you can also double click on this instead of having white. You can put a little bit of colors. So I'm kind of brown, maybe something more like this. Yeah, you should play a little bit, okay? So, and then you can basically, if you select it, edit, copy, edit, paste. You can do it several times. But something that you can also do, you can like maybe taking the free transformation tool, you can also transform it. So put it smaller, put it bigger, and so on. Something else that you can do as well is to change those kind of leaves. So you can rotate, you know, something like this. Or maybe you can even, like using the direct selection tool, you can move the points in order to look different, you know, having something like this. Okay, perfect. So now you have the before and after situation. I would always suggest to have something that is called key. So another layer in the layer list and you call it key. So once you have the key, it's good because you know exactly what you're meaning for each thing. So you can put the key here. So you can create with a rectangular shape, with a rectangular tool, a rectangular shape, and you can, with the eyedrop, you take this. And let's put a little bit of opacity in order for them to be the same. And with the text, taking the text, you can call it entrances. And with the character, of course, we go up because it was too small. You know, and you can do the same with everything. So copy and paste, copy and paste. And you can, this could be, I don't know, for example, the gray things, and you can call it green spaces. And then something else that you can do is to take the line tool, do one line, and then with the eyedrop go into this one in order to show. And this could be, I don't know, pedestrian pathway. No, so it's always good to have the key because then if you have a lot of elements, the reader can read what do you have, and you can do exactly the same things here. So by copy and paste, you can have, I don't know, in this case, we don't have green spaces here. So we have take the eyedropper and we click on this one and we call it parking spaces. Perfect. So you now have a nice diagram, two nice diagram of the before and after situation. If you want to export them, you go into File, Export as. You can decide if you want to export as a PNG or as a JPEG, or if you want just to save as a PDF, but remember to use artboard, so only your artboard will be exported, and then export. Thank you guys, hope this has been very useful for you in order to develop nice diagrams.